We go. Hello. Happy Tuesday, this late November. My name is Latrice Burks-Palmerio. I am a plaintiff's attorney for Black women experiencing workplace discrimination. I am a toxic job survivor, in addition to being a toxic job liberator. This is my YouTube channel for Black women seeking legal advice as they navigate workplace issues. This is a segment I've been doing for a while called Real Talk with a Black Girl Magic Lawyer. Today's guest is Rashidat. Hey, girl. Hey, please introduce yourself.
Hey, yes, thank you for having me, Latrice. So, yes, I am your dream strategist, and I am so passionate about helping Black women quit being a strong Black woman because that ish is exhausting. And I'm all about helping us redefine success on our own terms, who we are beyond our job title, and then creating our soft life outside of that. So many of us feel like we don't have this space to have a soft life because we've been told that all we have to do is work and work and work and work. And I'm here to tell us there's another way of life. So that's what I'm all about. Thank you for having me.
No problem. And look, I think I like to normally share with the guests how I meet my guests, right? So
Hmm.
I was introduced to you by my sister friend Marissa Price. Hey, Marissa. I know
Yes.
you guys did a video together, and it was fun. It was like like interactive, and any friend of Marissa's is a friend of mine, so I like to say that. So
Yes.
yeah. So no, go ahead. Like, how did you meet Marissa? We could talk about that if you want to.
Yes. I met Marissa honestly through the internet. I started actually I think the first time we interacted, we were both doing the get your next three clients challenge through Stephanie Perry.
Oh, cool.
But I had already been following her content and like watching and commenting and things like that. So I was very excited to be in that group with her. And that's when I started pitching for asking her to do different collaborations and conversations with me. And I'll say the rest is history at that point.
That's really cool. No, I love that. It's she's really good. She's a really nice woman. I wanted to talk to you about something that you just discussed, right? The like need to be the strong Black woman.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, so when did you release the need within yourself to
Yeah.
always be that strong Black woman? And how does that relate to the liberation work that you do?
Yeah. So I would love to say, I wish that it was like I knew that I was doing it to myself.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
it took me a long time to realize that I was a part of my own perpetuation of that trope. Like, I what I realized is that I had felt this pressure subconsciously to be on all the time for so long, for so long, for so long. And then one day I was just like, I'm tired. Is there not more to life than this? And as I just start asking that question, and the biggest part was I decided, listen, now that I've paid off my last student loan payment, I asked myself, if I wasn't doing this, what would I be doing? And that was a really huge question for me because it made me realize just how much I had been pressuring myself to be strong, how I've been pressuring myself to go far in my career. Like I was pressuring myself and how I had made those exterior pressures my own. Like they were now things that I pressured myself to do. And that was huge for me. Once I realized that, I was like, oh to hell no. Like we could change
Yes.
this. If it's
Yes.
me, I could change it. You know what I mean? And that was huge for me.
Yeah, so no, that's wonderful. And I think so when I was preparing for our chat today, like I know that that's one of the things that you like actively promote. And it's so important because by virtue of like releasing that um um unjust, unfair amount of pressure, right?
Mm-hmm.
By
Mm-hmm.
by releasing that, we like free up the opportunity to like dream again. And it's one of the things that I like to tell the women that I do like consultations with is, like what would you like literally before you had this job, like what did you want to do with your life? Like what
Right.
did you like if you could do anything and money not be a factor, what would you do? Like answering
Right.
those big questions. And I just think it says a lot about the like American workforce where people aren't allowed to dream, that people don't feel they have the energy or the capacity to do so. So I just admire that. And it just reminds me of what like Louise Hay says. And she's kind of like taking that approach of like healing from within and, you know, like curing our like inner child. But by like talking about the things that you wanted to do, you're able to like reconnect with your true self. And I think that's cool.
Yeah. I so agree. I think there's something about one asking the question and then not beating yourself up or downplaying or trying to like change your answer. Like if the answer is
Yeah.
I want something small, like I just want to not work for this company, then start with that. And for every step that you take where you ask yourself, what do I want? And I start doing it, then it's like I call it your dream gland. I don't know that we actually have a dreaming gland,
Oh,
but I feel like it's a dreaming gland that got dried up and you
uh-huh.
have to like start moisturizing it again. And every time you start to say yes to yourself, it adds more moisture to that thing. And that means the blood and the stuff starts flowing a little more. And the dreams, at the end of the day, your dreams start flowing more. And then your dreams grow, they change, they evolve because you're giving yourself a chance to actually figure out what you want. And how you said that connects together, that understanding what we want, what I wanted, and how that connected to how I live my life was really huge. Because at first I thought, when I first took my corporate job, I thought I just wanted a stable job where I got paid every day. And then I
Yeah,
realized that was for the birds.
yeah,
I wanted
yeah,
more than that, you know?
yeah.
And that's where I think it comes from, you know?
Yeah, no, and it is. It's exactly that. It's like, you know, and I feel like every black woman can like identify what that like, you know, that cycle is like being in the workforce, but we all have our own breaking point as to okay, this is where I draw the line. And everyone has their own journey. Um
Mm-hmm.
I want to take a second to say if you're watching this video in the future, go ahead and hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and do that. So look, okay. So I discovered about like 6 weeks ago, right? That excuse me, about like 6 months ago, that America kind of implies that like that black women aren't like worthy of joy. So that's so,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like we saw it on like a national stage when like Vice President Harris was running for president and she was smiling and like and I truly believe that she was being like, you know, like authentic, right? But for
Mm-hmm.
some reason our joy gets miscolored. So I wanted to
Mm.
like talk to you about that. Like what does joy mean to you? And why do you think society says black women aren't worthy of it?
Girl, why does society think that we're not worthy of it? That's a deep question in itself. I
Yeah.
would say a huge part of it is because if we have our joy, if we have our contentment, then that means we're not pushing to work. We're not pushing to make things better. We're not pushing to do more. And they've recognized that our motivation is connected to a lack of joy.
Mhm.
And not that all of our motivation is, but the motivation that gets them what they want is connected to our lack of joy. And so it's easy for them to push us to not be happy because that keeps us in that cycle of
Yeah.
uh doing things that benefit them. And not only that, they dress it up in a way that makes it feel like it's benefiting us, but it's really just benefiting them. So when I think about what our joy should be about and how it should be created, um it really comes down to we've heard, especially over the last couple of years, that phrase, make work a tool, not the goal. But not
Mhm.
a lot of
Mhm.
people talk about what that means and what that looks like. So how do you make work the tool and not the goal? Well, for a lot of us, if you wake up and your priorities of how you set up your day are all based around how you get work done, then work is your goal.
Yeah.
Work is your goal. But if
Yeah.
you wake up in the morning and you're like, okay, I need to make sure my kids get this, or I need to make sure I have a slow rise, or I need to make sure that I'm using my vacation, or I need to make sure that I'm making time for whatever dream it is, whether it's starting a business. And I don't think everybody needs to start a business. I'm not saying everybody needs to be a corporate dropout. Not all of us want to do that. But I'm
Yeah,
saying you want to figure out what it is that you do want to prioritize rather than running from what you don't want to prioritize, and actually wake up in the morning and say, how am I going to make time for that today? And let everything else fall around that. And that's not to say that you won't still have to go to work or make money, but let
right,
that be your priority, right?
for sure. It's a pivoting is what I call it,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's a pivoting in mindset. And it's
Mm-hmm.
here's the thing, like what I found when when I was working for law firms, I found that even the time I had with family was occupied about what was going on in the office. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
if that's your experience, but you do really do like prioritize your family, you must make some shifts. It's the
Mm-hmm.
only way.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Because if you're out to dinner with your family and you're not actually on call for something, and somebody is calling you from work and you're answering it, what that shows everybody else at that table, your kids, your husband, your partner, whoever, is that I got to put you on hold for a second to deal with this other person who I say is not a priority. A thing that I say is not a priority. That's not that we're not living that way in that moment. And I think we have to be we have to be cognizant. We have to pay attention to how our behaviors and our mindset, like our behaviors and the things that we say, don't
Yeah.
always connect. We say that we want work to be the tool,
And we
but
want a balance, right?
right. But we just lived our life like it was the goal.
Yeah,
So you got to live your life by the way that you actually say you want it to be, you know? And it's a
for
choice.
sure.
It's a choice.
And I think you mentioned family earlier, right? So but think about the like example that you might leave for your children by saying like when I needed to, I wasn't able to support you in the way that you needed. Like that's like, that's a
Mhm.
part of it too. Um
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
So no, I did a whole video on Black women over 40 about, how you could, pivot and use your like contributions to your company to get severance and get a bag so you can dip. And with the bag, work in your sweet spot. Like the notion of like, working, doing work for profit that brings you joy and aligns with your like skill set. And I think that's
Mhm.
a very niche area of jobs, but I think it would, and I normally tell my clients, like even the women who like just chat with me to see if they have a claim, like, like what like start dreaming again. Like I know you're
Mhm.
in a position right now and you don't feel good about life, but start dreaming again. Like that'll help
Yeah.
you, kind of see past whatever moment you're in.
Yeah. I think that in itself is huge because that phrase, you can't see the forest for the trees. Sometimes we've been doing the same thing for so long, we literally can't imagine doing anything else. But when you start allowing yourself to dream, it allows you to be creative and see, I might not see anybody else doing this exact way, but there's absolutely nothing stopping me from proposing that we do it this way.
Right.
And if I'm if I do this right, if I play my cards right, there's a really good chance I could get what I want and still be able to get them what they want. Like, and that's why I love what you said about how, pivoting yourself to take your expertise and create it into a way, or create it into whatever kind of format that allows you to be taken care of as well. Like, that's creativity in itself, and it can be used to our advantage. Why not? Like, come
For
on.
sure. Well, that's what I think, and I think especially like women who have been at companies for a very long time. Like Black women are so like nurturing by spirit. We help companies grow, and I'm like, imagine if we were to redirect some of that energy to ourselves,
Mm,
and imagine if we could use our skills and profit off of our own skills. So
mm-hmm.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And man, once we do and we start collaborating with each other, that's one of the things I've loved about this community,
Yeah.
seeing um I feel like you always hear about how the Jews or even Chinese, like they bring each other up,
Mhm,
like
mhm.
I'm excited for us to see Black women bring each other up in that way. And I don't fault us for not having not done that before. We've had to
Exactly.
deal with Jim Crow. We've had to do with a lot of other things that no matter from what side we were getting pulled down, but we're moving into an era where that's not how we're moving forward. We're moving forward into a place where we are choosing to see each other,
Yeah.
specifically each other, and pull each other up. And I think that's super powerful.
It really is, and it feels like it's a movement going on, like people with
Hmm.
like Stephanie Perry and like Dr. Kamani, like these like liberators that are like lifting as they climb, and also kind
Hmm.
of giving space, right,
Hmm.
to helping each other. I think it's the way forward. And look, you mentioned some other groups that do it. Another group that does it, especially here in Los Angeles, is like Latinos. Like they look
Hmm.
out for each other. I was like, imagine if Black people were to do were to like redirect some of our loyalty to
Mm.
ourselves,
Hmm.
you
It's
know,
powerful, powerful,
because
instead of just
we're
being like, go
force.
ahead, say it
Oh,
again.
sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying instead of it being like, "Oh, I made it this far, now you gotta pay your way too." Like, nah, like that's the point. You made it that far, and you don't have to like give it to me on a silver platter, but at least don't gatekeep. Like
Yeah.
share what you did to get that far, so that I'm not doing all the extra work. I can just do the right work to get there. So yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And I do think there is like a hazing that happens with like older generations. Sometimes it was like
Mm,
what you're saying. It's mostly I think boomers and some Gen X. And I think there's some because I know some like radical Gen X and they don't subscribe to that type of like, oh, no one help me mentality. It's like that's not productive, you know,
yeah, yeah. It's not
especially because
productive.
we're like playing catch up, you know?
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I think I think our more recent generations also too, I think the more that we see other Black women step
Yeah.
out there and help each other, the more that we feel safe to do that because again, not our fault, but we've seen where you might have put yourself out there for someone and they didn't show up and that's not to say it's going to go perfectly every single time. But as we continue to like build connections and build our network, we'll better know who can show up, who we can bring with us. And I know we won't be able to bring everybody, but I do believe it will still grow and evolve because it's been positively reinforced from the other people we've seen. And now we're doing it, and that just all of that snowballs and adds up to what's happening.
Yeah, I agree. And the notion of like, you like can't bring everyone with you. Like that's a hard reality, especially for like people like me. They're like, oh, but I want us all to. It's like no, like it's you have to. A person has to be like aware of their own oppression so they can be liberated.
Mhm, mhm.
And
Yeah.
maybe and like that's part of it too.
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is.
I wanted to ask you about like self-care because I think one of the services you provide is just kind of intel on how we can step away from like like whitewash self-care, which I think is this notion of like, oh, you're not feeling well, just take a day off from work and just and that's it.
Mhm,
When I think
mhm.
it like I think real self-care, like authentic self-care looks differently. What do you say to that? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, so when I think of self-care, I think of it just like how we talk about a yoga practice, and you probably know you should be doing yoga multiple times a week because we hold stress in our hips. And so if you're not putting yourself in pigeon or reverse pigeon or some kind of yoga pose a couple times a week, our muscles are just contracting and it's holding all of that tension inside of us. Like
Yeah.
it's the same thing with our self-care practice. And I also think the idea that our self-care practice needs to be luxurious means that it becomes inaccessible because not
Mm-hmm.
everybody got money to be spending on luxury every time I need 3 or 4 times a week or as often as I need to be doing self-care. So we
Yeah.
have to find other ways to bring self-care um into a regular activity that we do throughout the week in order to really use it.
No, that's so cool that you say that. No, people in our society, we treat self-care like a luxury. It's like,
Mm,
oh, I'm not, or it's like people when we should be doing self-care all the time, we only do it for when we're like close to like the deathbed, have one foot in the grave, like ammonia. Am I lying?
right. Right.
Yeah, I see it all the time.
Yeah. And that means if you're waiting till until you are burnt out,
Yeah.
until your cup is empty to
Yes.
then try to take care of yourself, how much more work do you have to do to actually get your cup filled back up?
Wow. Wow.
So much more work.
Yeah.
So is it not better to on a regular basis that cup is moving and water is falling out and fill that thing back up on a regular basis. So my whole practice, my whole mindset around it is I need to be adding water into my cup almost in some ways, almost every day. Now there's things like self-care could be something as small as I'm gonna take a 5 minute meditation where I just do breathing. And it
Yeah.
could be something as long as I'm taking a day off. It could
Mhm.
be there's just so many different activities, and I like to make sure we think about fun as well because there's something rejuvenating, there's something healing about a good deep belly laugh, you know what I mean?
Mhm. It's so
And
true.
we got to make time, we got to make space to just laugh and have fun. And if we're not careful, we could go weeks without doing it and not even realize it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. Look, and I just wanted to share one of my mechanisms for self-care. I love face masks. Like
Oh, I love
I
it.
will do a 15-20 minute face mask and just have I love those. But you're right.
Yeah.
No, like instead of treating it like instead of wait, it's like gas, right? It's
Mhm.
like instead of waiting, like until you're on E, like fill up when you got a quarter,
Yeah. Right.
I
Right.
like that. That's a cool metaphor. No, thank you for
Yes.
that.
Yes. I would add one of my favorite things to do. I don't have it. I'm not at home, so I can't show you. But I love to go get Dr. Teal's body scrub. And girl, let me tell you, I feel so silky smooth after I do that. And you get like a whole bunch of different uses. You could get like 4 or 5 sittings out of that one container. But I
Right.
put that on and just sit there with some music and a candle on and scrub every little bit of dead skin off of my body, and I'm feel gloriously soft after that. Like who doesn't want to feel baby fresh? Like come on, baby
Absolutely.
soft. Like yes. So yes, that's a. I'm gonna have to add the mask to it to go with my next body scrub.
And I feel like I need to start doing body scrubs because I really do love like a fresh, like a squeaky clean. You know how when you feel squeaky, you're like, ooh, I feel it, you actually sleep better. All of it, like
Yes.
it's awesome. So no, thanks for that. I wanted to talk to you about like racial battle fatigue and like
Mm.
weathering, right? So I'm not sure if you've heard of the book White Women Cry and Called Me Angry. Do you know that
I
book?
have not heard of that, but that I love
Yeah.
the title.
So the author is so she did a live with Stephanie Perry. Her name is Unique Redwood.
Okay.
And she is Jamaican. She worked in like philanthropy. And like part of the things that she was talking about, she like talks about in the book, but she talked about with like Stephanie Perry is like that like literally weathering racism in America has like physical consequences for many black women,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
And we don't
Yeah.
talk about that like enough. So it's like so how I wanted to just ask you how was being that like strong black woman kind of related to like weathering and what's
Yeah.
your story?
Yeah. So first, especially being a dark skinned black woman, don't get it twisted because I got all this light on right here. I'm dark
Same
skinned.
here. Trust me. I think this means that you and I have like warm undertones, which yeah, you and I both. I'm
Yes.
I'm out here chocolate too.
Yes. Yes. So that being said, I remember for one, it started with the colorism in my
Yeah.
high school.
Hmm.
So started there, and then I went to a PWI, so experiencing it and microaggressions, and then just straight out some overt, some just straight things as well. But I
Yeah.
would say traveling as backpacking, because I was the locations that I was going into and the experiences that I was in, I experienced it a lot there as well. And what it came down to, I remember at the beginning, I
Hmm.
felt like I needed to start a nonprofit to be an activist in this fight, and that I needed to make my voice heard. But then as I got towards the end of that trip, I said, you know what? I'm tired of doing that.
Yes. Yes.
I'm tired of
Understand.
feeling like I have to fight for myself all the time. And you know what? I'm just going to get to the point where you could be an idiot if you want, but I'm not going to let your idiocy mess up my day. I
Let's
can't.
go. I want that on a t-shirt, friend.
I can't. I
Yeah.
don't know why you believe what you believe. I don't know why you see what you see, but I'm tired. I'm tired of trying to prove myself to you. It is not worth it. Listen, Jesus don't ask me to prove myself to him. Why the F am I proving myself to you?
That
I'm
part.
done.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
And I started trying to figure out what it looked like to put myself in places where I don't have to prove myself.
Right.
Now, I know that part of it is hard. That
Yeah.
part of it is hard, but I would say some of the things that I stopped doing that I felt like I should do, my nonprofit, I stopped doing that
Yeah.
because it was too much of me fighting to prove. It was too much of me trying to prove when I was asking donors for money that it was worth it. It was too much of that
Yeah.
over and
Yeah.
over again in different aspects. And I was like, listen, either you're going to pay me because I'm good at what I do, or
Right.
you're not, but I'm not going to prove myself. And so, whether it's in a job, stop trying to prove myself to get to move to the next level. If you don't promote me, guess what? I'm gonna do real good with this money I got at this level, and I'm gonna go on about my business. But I'm
Yeah.
not staying late. I'm not working harder. I'm not trying to be on all the time. Listen, I get to have a bad day just like you do because you have bad days all the time.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
going to make space for me to be human.
Yes.
And everybody else is going to figure it out. And I know that's easier said than done, and don't get me wrong, I've had to navigate some things in order to make that a thing,
For
but it's
sure.
been way more worth it to
Yeah.
navigate making a space for myself rather
Yep.
than trying to prove that I deserve to be in your space. I don't want to deserve to be in your space no more. This is about me making a space for me.
And look, listen, like Alicia Renice did a
Mhm.
whole video and was talking about like if I have to work twice as hard to get half as much, then I literally don't want to play.
Exactly. Exactly. Who got
I
time for that?
because and also this is a book that I'm reading, Rachel Cargill's. She talks about ease and how black women
Mm,
deserve ease and that we don't have to like waste. I know no other group that focuses on like kind of fitting in spaces. Like I know white people ain't out here doing that.
mhm, mhm,
And if
mhm.
anyone deserves to rest, it's the descendants of chattel slavery.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. And I think that's the other thing about like choosing to change our mindset about wanting to prove ourselves.
Yeah.
The choice not to prove ourselves is a part of my perspective.
Hmm.
That's a part of taking our reparations. Because guess what? Nobody's going to give it to us.
Not at
There's
all.
some things we got to do to
Yeah.
take it. And so I'm choosing, I'm intentionally choosing not to prove myself to you anymore because that's what reparations looks like. Either you're going to see me or you're not.
Right. And listen, and like, and we hear since the like election results, right? Like, and in my mind, a like U.S. passport is to us what like freedom papers were to like our ancestors. It's like, because I think we can expect kind of this climate. Well, our country will get worse like before it gets better, and that's not
Mhm.
on us to fix. That's on
Mhm.
like the like white like majority to fix. But in the meantime, it's okay to say see ya until the climate cool down.
Right. Right.
And a lot of
Right.
people are doing that. So
Right. And I wish that on one hand, I wish that it wouldn't have taken us this long, but I'm also glad that it's here, so I'm
yeah,
not going to complain about it. I did a whole video about how I felt about the election and how that again is another perpetuation of a strong black woman. And I know she's not African American, but her person of color
yeah,
having to step in, especially as a woman, to stepping in a season of crisis to fix things. And um evidently it wasn't messed up enough for them to finally let a woman into the White House. But um at the end of the day, I want to go back to what you said about that black joy.
yeah.
I don't know if you saw the next day there was like a video of her sitting with her like nieces and
I
nephews or
saw that.
somebody,
Hmm.
and she was smiling, and I was like,
She
please,
had
that's
the hair on the
exactly,
ponytail.
listen, she's living her best life. Come on, that's what we need to be doing.
Yeah,
Every time that we try to step in to help and it's not accepted, go home, put on your comfy sweats, love on your babies, eat something good, take a deep breath, and move on with your life, because you it's not it's their loss. It's not
literally.
your loss. It is literally their loss. So that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah, no, and I saw this art piece that had these black women in our beautiful crowns with tea, coffee in hands on a rooftop. And then in the distance, everything is just burning down, and black women are just sitting, just like, this is what y'all get for ignoring Earth. This is what you get.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I think we're on the same page to that. I wanted to ask you, so part of what you and I talked a little bit about dreaming, right? And what that means. So just like tell me, like, where did you come up with the name, like Dream Strategist? And like if you don't mind, like give us any kind of like example of how dreaming has been beneficial to you and your journey when it comes to like healing from trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, such a good question. So I came the name came as like an evolution because I realized how much dreaming and vision casting really changed my life. Um and the strategy behind it too, because it was less about having a perfect plan to change my life, and it was more like I have some like milestones that I need to hit in order to get to this my life to this place that I want it to be. And as I hit those, the strategy in hitting those, it wasn't the same strategy the whole way through. So you had to kind of, you really have to think outside of the box, because otherwise the American dream, listen, it's like a horror movie that'll grab you by the ankles and drag you back in. So you gotta be strategic about how you exit it. So the way dreaming and vision impacted my life, I as a young kid, I grew up in a poor neighborhood. It used to be a more wealthy neighborhood that had come down, declined dramatically. So by the time I got there, it was a hood.
Mhm.
And I remember being like, I'm leaving here and I'm never coming back. I was 8 years old and I knew that when I left, I was never coming back. But I also didn't know where I wanted to go. I just knew the next thing that I knew was getting a good job, getting a house, like, being able to take care of myself. And Michelle Obama says something similar in her book, Becoming. It was,
Mhm.
we as Black women are just taught to do the next thing. You
Yeah.
just do the next thing. Like, we're never really asked to dream. We're never really asked to explore our wants or things that get us excited. And so that was how I started my career, was just doing the next thing, because that was all I knew.
Yeah.
And it really took me getting to that point where I I was having a hard, I got promoted at work, but that new position was man, I was having a hard time.
Hmm.
And it was never the work. It's never the work. It's always the people,
Yes.
because Black women know how to get work done. We ain't never had a problem with that. It's dealing with the politics and the other things that come with being in this skin in a
Uh-huh.
corporate environment. And so as I paid off my last debt payment, and I asked myself that same question I said before, what would I do if I wasn't doing this? That's what inspired me to dream. But the trauma, the healing from the trauma didn't happen until I took the leap of faith to just try something different. I
Mm.
didn't know what I was going to do next when I left. I just knew I ain't doing this.
Right. Right. Right.
And so anybody that's like, I'm ready to try something, change something, do something different, I'm all about that, because in that adventure to figure out what I wanted to do next, it was less about what I wanted to do next and more about getting to know me on a deeper level than I had ever got to know me before.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
when you're just doing the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, you're not actually stopping to ask yourself what you want.
Yeah.
You're just literally just doing. You're in this cycle of doing. And so I
Hmm.
had to stop and get into a place where I could just be. And as I got to figure out how to be and who I am and what I wanted and why I wanted those things and how God created me and how I could, create a position or create a business around things that actually made me excited, then my dreams started happening. Because I was like, I remember, I'm a very direct person. A very direct person. And I would see, that's usually one of those things where we're called the angry Black woman. But
Yep.
then I was reading like a personality, I was reading a personality quiz, and it gave me a reframe on my directness. And it was like mind blown, where it
Wow.
actually showed how some of the traits that other people from the outside wanted to change about me were
Mhm.
actually my superpowers. And when I started looking at them from that perspective, I was like, oh, it's on and popping now. And
Yeah.
now when you change that and you start dreaming from that perspective of, wait, some of the things that I thought that I needed to get out of me, that I needed to change about me, are actually the main thing that I need to keep about me.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
inspired so many different dreams, inspired so much more. It inspired a fulfillment where I was like, wait, all I got to do is wake up every day and be me, and I'm
Yeah.
doing something amazing. And so that really started with dreaming. And then once I had this dream, that I was like, okay, I just want to literally use the different things about me that I love every single day. Then I start vision casting. Vision casting meaning I looked at my future and I said, by this time in the future, I want this thing. I want to be able to do this more. I'll give you an example. I In 2016, actually in 2014, no, 2016, I knew that I wanted more location freedom, because the one thing that I felt missing from my corporate job was the ability. So if I, with my 2 weeks off,
Hmm.
if my family member had a wedding going on and somebody else had a birthday and somebody else was having a baby, there wasn't enough days off, and I would be pretty much penalized, because I needed to be in that building. And I was like, I want to be able to live my life and make money anywhere in the world with any part of my family without having to feel like I have to sacrifice one or the other.
Yeah.
And that started building. Okay, so now I'm like, okay, that's the dream. How do I start creating that? Well, 5 years from now, that means I need to have this in place. I need to have a different way to make money. I need to have this. And when you start plotting those milestones out, even if you don't know exactly how to get to that, you have a destination in the map. It's like putting a
Mhm.
destination in the GPS. The GPS is not going to give you a path if you don't tell it where you want to go. It's the same thing with our
Oh,
lives, right?
absolutely.
Same thing with our lives. So we got to tell our lives, universe, this is what I want my life to be like. And
Yeah.
then when we do that, it can start creating a path for us to get there. Because then all of these good opportunities, but don't actually get us there, we start saying, no, I don't want that, because that's not going to get me to that. That ain't a good opportunity. That might be a good opportunity for you, but it ain't a good opportunity for me, you
Yeah.
know? And we stop saying yes to things that are not actually going to build the life that we want. And we start saying yes to the things that most specifically bring us the life that we want. And so it was dreaming and vision casting, like actually put that destination in the map, that really allowed me to focus in, this is the life that I want to build, and making decisions, choosing my behaviors, doing little things every single day that snowballed into that life.
Hmm.
And I love it. And that's what I get to live now. And not only that, now that I've gotten the first couple dreams, now I've added some new destinations in the map and we're snowballing again.
That's
It
awesome.
can continue to happen. So
Yeah, so there's a few things that I want to say based on what you said, right? So my father was a pastor. I grew up in the church, but one of the things that we actually I grew up hearing a lot is that like God, you know, he like made us in like his image, and part of that is the ability to like create and to
mhm,
do, and the power of mouth, of saying I'm going to do this and focusing
mhm.
all of your energy on that. Like so not only is that like it's a spiritual gift that also has like practical consequences as well, and I think that's really cool.
Yes. I
Yeah.
mean, the Bible talks about vision. Without vision, the people perish. Without knowing where you're taking your life, you're going to end up off the side of a cliff. Like, that's
Yep.
what it's saying here. We ain't trying to end up off the side of a cliff, okay? And I think the other beautiful thing that I don't think we hear people talk about enough is, especially when it comes to spirituality, I believe, and I have experienced that Jesus wants to dream with me.
Ooh, yes, yes. Oh, that's cool. I like that too. I need that on a t-shirt.
Yes. Jesus knows where he wants to take my life, and he doesn't need to hide it from me. He just wants to have a fun conversation about it. So I
Mhm.
love when Jesus and I, when we're planning out for the next, we're planning our 10-year vision, or even our vision for the next year. I'm like, Jesus, well, what about this? And he's like, well, what about this? And I'm like, oh, you're right, Jesus, but what about that? And then we had this like fun
Mhm.
conversation. But I'm saying all of that to say, there's this freedom in bringing there's this freedom in dreaming and creating a vision and looking towards our future that can ground us for today and make our experience clearly connected to what we're building.
Yeah.
Otherwise we're just aimlessly trying different things, aimlessly throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping it sticks. And Jesus is like, we don't have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that. I like that. It's almost like, I grew up hearing that our steps are, ordered in the womb, meaning we don't know how life's gonna go, but someone knows. And
Mm-hmm.
I think, as we kind of live our life and we're in these spaces, what one of the things that I like to do, I like to talk to like ancestors and ask them for like their unused untapped potential, because a lot of them
Mm-hmm.
didn't get to fully be human, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were denied those human rights, but they had potential. So by
Mm-hmm.
talking to them for their messages, and I do that all the time. So I'm a very spiritual person.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, so what are some of the ways that Black women kind of talk their way out of the like things that they really want to do? Like what have you seen, and then how do we like overcome that?
Yeah. Um, I think the biggest way is that we are over responsible for other people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's been dressed up as kindness for a long, long, long time. This is how you be kind, is that you sacrifice everything about you for someone else. And this is a bold statement to say, but that is colonization.
Yeah.
That is colonization and wrapped up in Christianity, or
Talk about
Christianity wrapped up in colonization, however you want to say it. And so I think our first step is to create some better boundaries,
it. Yep.
um, some very specific boundaries of, it is not my responsibility to take care of everything. Um,
Yes.
Now I'm gonna pause for a second because I got off on that tangent and now I forgot the question. So
Oh yeah, so no problem. I was just asking like, so what are some of the ways that you see like Black women kind of like
okay,
talk themselves out of their dreams? And I guess
yeah.
what advice you would have for those women as they kind of dip their toe in dreaming.
Yes. Yeah. And that's a huge part of it. Over responsibility. Because I even just had a call earlier where a client was saying, I want to go do XYZ, but so and so is saying that they need me too much to be able to do it. But so and so is a grown adult and don't need me to stay here. And I know intellectually, I know that that's intellectually true, but my heart is not used to telling them no. My heart is used to giving them what they want. But here's the thing, if your heart is giving them what they want and it's at a sacrifice of you, that's not that's not interdependence, that's codependence. That's
Yep.
sacrificial. And Jesus already sacrificed himself on the cross. We don't need to do that too, okay? That's
Talk
not
about
he
that.
doesn't that's not saying it needs to be us. So
Yeah.
eh, in our because we've been doing that for so long, because we've been taught to, I mean, I'm going
Yeah.
to use movies because I'm not going to I don't like to make it so personal, but if you look at the movie like The Help,
Mhm.
man, her kids were struggling at home to take care of herself, but she had to show up for getting paid to this white woman's child. Is
Mhm.
that not the perpetuation of continuing to be strong? But then we're also teaching our kids to be strong in that. So I think if I'm gonna make it really practical, first step number one, practice saying no. Step
Yeah.
number two, when you say no, specifically make sure that if you asking yourself, is this a situation where I'm being over responsible? Is this
Mhm.
a situation where I can delegate this back? And then giving it back. And then number three, every time you get it wrong, it's okay.
Mhm.
It's a practice. It's going to take some time to get used to saying no. It's going to take some time to get used to giving it back. It's going to take some time to practice not taking on more responsibility than is actually you what you need to do. And
Right.
don't beat yourself up about it. You know, every time that you recognize you do it, you say, God dang it, I messed it up this time, but I'm gonna do better next time.
Yeah.
And every time, but make it a conversation every single time, because every single time is what helps us grow.
Right. Yeah, no, that I think you hit a lot on the head, right? And I do think there is this, like it's hard to build boundaries at first, right? At first, it kind of seems a little scary, but it really does need to happen and trust. And I think there is this kind of like a collective feeling amongst Black women that are like we are tired of doing all this extra work without the proper love on the other side. So, and I
Hmm.
think, you know, one of the things that I see in my work is Black women are like really underpaid. A lot of them, some of us make like like wages at these jobs, and these toxic jobs are comfortable with
Hmm.
underpaying Black women, right? And I guess they just imagine that we don't say anything. Um,
Hmm.
And I feel like that's like, but again, this notion of dreaming and like thinking like, what if I gave a fraction of the work I give to everyone else to myself and what I want to do. And it's
Mhm.
really liberating that way. So
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, so any last words from you? And please let us know how we can stay in touch with you. If you're watching this from the future, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. Check out my discrimination playlist. I've done a few of these talks today. Thank you, Rashidat, for joining us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. You said final words. I think my final word is start with connecting back to who you are beyond any should, any responsibility, anything that you feel like you have to do, and then dream from there. Because
Mm,
if you don't reset and connect back to who you are first, you're probably dreaming from these outside expectations rather than dreaming from just the core of who you are. So start with that
wow.
and then follow your dreams. I mean, I know that sounds really cliche, but your dreams are an expression of who you are when you allow them to be reconnected to who you are. So follow them, like follow the things that allow you to blossom, to light your light to shine. Like allow that to really flow. So yes, that's those are my final thoughts. And yeah, I'm happy to share where people can find me as well.
Absolutely. And I did drop your website URL in the chat earlier so people can
Okay.
check. You also have a YouTube channel. Tell us about your channel because you do some cool like interactive work. Because I
Yeah.
came to a session recently and we were like, like planning fun. I'm like, ooh, we actually do this. That's cool.
Yes.
I love it.
Y- Yeah, so my channel is at Your Dream Strategist. So what I have the handle on the screen, and one of my favorite activities, one of our weekly activities that we do as a community on my channel, is we intentionally come together every Friday to schedule rest and fun and our schedule for next week because for us being so high achieving,
Yeah.
like powerful Black women, we know that if it's not in our calendar, we're not going to prioritize it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If it ain't in our calendar, it's not real. So let's put that much effort into scheduling rest and fun as we do work. And it's that switch, we talked about at the beginning. Our behavior follows
Yeah.
how we do things. And so, um, when we start making time to prioritize more rest and fun on our calendar, then we actually start to see our life switch, change, and actually have more balance in it. And so that community aspect is the fourth part in my 4-step process to go from being a strong Black woman to creating our soft life. So I love for us to come together. It's also one of those things like you can start at the end and then come back to the beginning and then come back to the end. It's like one of those things. So I do that every Friday at noon on my channel. It's noon Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, so I would love for you guys to join us. I have a couple worksheets where we've collected a whole list of different things that Black women are trying that are new rest and fun activities, different way to get us out of our comfort zones, different ways to find more rest and fun and connect and try it. And if you don't like it, try something different on the list. But and then share what other things you find as well. So it's
That's
always a good time.
thank you for providing such a beautiful like a group interactive space. It's kind of
Mhm.
like this. I don't see a lot of that, so I just love that you do that. Thank you so much for your time today. Yeah, and I would love to have you back on at some point coming up in the new year. Happy
I would
Thanksgiving
love
to
it.
you. Happy holidays. The whole thing.
Yeah. You too. You too.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.